All right. Welcome to installment 8 of me making a little game about UFOs abducting people. Today we're going to get some rooms so that we can have some menus. So we're going to have an initial menu, and then we're going to have an end game screen. So first things first, I'm just going to do a little organization. So in objects, I'm going to go ahead and create a group, and I'm going to have a game group. Actually, you know what? What the heck? Let's call this a level 1 group. And I'm also going to create a group that's going to be the player group. And then, these are just folders, by the way. GameMaker calls them groups. I'm just going to drop the player stuff into the player group, and then I'm going to drop these guys into the level 1 group. And then we're going to make another group in here that's going to be menu. Yeah, let's call it buttons. So that's going to be for our menu. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to rename our initial room. We're going to rename that level 1. Right now my game is only going to have this single level, but we could envision making more levels. This game is pretty simple. I think you'd have to, well, I mean, we could incorporate some like enemies that shot back at us or something. That would be a good level 2, right? We could also put some cows in here. That would be fun. Like, there's more stuff that could be added to this game. In rooms, I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to create another room. And actually, I think I have the default size. So I'm going to call this the start menu. Oh, and these should be called room underscore, whatever they are. So that we don't accidentally make two things with the same name. So that's to avoid making two assets with the same name, which would be a problem. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that, and we're going to call that one room end screen. Actually, you know what? Let's call it game over. Okay, and then I'm going to set the start menu. So I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to set the start menu to be the first room. So now we've got them in the kind of order I'm expecting them to be seen. Okay, and right now we've got nothing happening in here. So this is where I'm going to need some more sprites. So I'm going to go into my sprites folder here. I'm going to create a group that's going to be called level 1. I'm going to put the background sprite for our level 1 in there. I'm going to go ahead and create another group that I'm going to call buttons. And that's going to have our button sprites in it. So in there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create some sprites. So I'm going to have a button sprite in there. And I'm going to go ahead and resize this. And I'm basically just going to make these the same size-ish as the ship. So the ship, I think we could click on the ship. The ship is 177 by 79. So I'm going to go ahead and make these 180 by 80. Oops, and we need to turn the aspect ratio off. Okay, these might not fit like perfectly into my room. Everything here is kind of a funny size, and I did that basically on purpose to demonstrate that it can be kind of a pain in the ass. But let's see how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit edit image, and I'm going to do the same thing I did for my sprites in my other button tutorial. So I'm going to zoom out just a tiny bit. I'm going to create a hollow rectangle here, and we're just going to give this a big old fat white border. Okay. Oops, and that needs to be renamed. Ridiculous, Joe. That needs to be SPR button inactive. Okay. And then we're going to go into our objects and we're going to create an object here. And this is going to be obj button parent. And then there are going to be multiple instances of the obj button. Like, I'm going to make a couple different buttons because I need them to do different stuff. If you haven't seen this before, there's another video in my series that's a button tutorial. Game Maker also has a pretty good button tutorial. You could follow along with either one of those. I'm actually going to do something really lazy. Let me pause this for 1 second. We'll be back. All right. I'm not sure how this is going to look on recording. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit New IDE here. So that's going to create a second copy of the Game Maker IDE. It's going to take a second to load. Once we get it loaded, my plan is basically to open, let's see, let's scroll down here and let's open, our button lecture. It may take me a second to find this because I didn't name it well. Realized it's not called button experimentation or anything. It's Pong 2.1 because it's Pong that I added buttons to. So this is the Pong 2.1 is the thing that I added buttons to earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that. So I'll put a link to that video in the description here. So you could follow along with that if you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, all right, so what did I do here? So I had my rooms. Great. In objects, I have game objects and menu objects. Okay. I'm just going to try this. I'm not sure this is going to work, but... Oh, can you not copy these? I wonder if I hit Control-C and then click in here. If I hit Control-V? No. Bummer. You can't just copy assets back and forth. That's sad. So I have obj button parent. So let's open that thing up and see what's in there. No need to reinvent the wheel on these, basically. Like, if you've already got a button, like, we'll just go ahead and create this thing again. All right, so I've got some font stuff. Okay, yeah, I remember that I wanted to create a font. Let's see. So I made a menu. This font is Kristen ITC. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into our other IDE and create a font. Instead of making you guys look at me flipping back and forth between these two, I'm just going to put this thing off on my other monitor. So if you see me looking over there, that's what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click here. We're going to create a font. That font is going to be... we'll select it and we'll go for that same font we used before because I think it looked pretty good. We're going to make this a bit bigger this time. I think that'll work out all right. And anti-aliasing looks good on this one. So I think we're going to go ahead and just call that a day. So that's our font object. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to look in our button parent object. And we're going to say, all right, I need a draw event in here. And in my draw event, I need to call a draw self. That's first things first. Then we need a set font. Okay, and the font I want to use is, oh, why did I name it font 1? Joe, what are you doing? That's going to be font underscore menu. Notice that's actually going to change my little font that Abductions was in earlier because I didn't have a font set before. That'll be fine. Then I'm going to go grab a set text alignment. So there's the set text alignment. I'm going to set this to center middle so I can handle things by the middle. And then we're going to do a draw value. And the thing we want to draw is the button text variable. And we want to draw it at the center of our button. Then we're going to want to go into our button here. I'm going to set this to have the button default sprite. And in variable definitions, I need to add a button text variable. And that one I want to be a string, and we'll set it to nothing to start with. Actually, you know what? Let's set it to default to start with just so we can see what one looks like. Okay, great. Now we're gonna create a new object here, and this is gonna be obj button play. The play button should be the easy one to deal with. So I've got my play button, and I'm just looking back at my previous thing here, and when I let's see. That's inherited when we press. I wonder if maybe I didn't save this code because I think it looks like I'm not quite complete over there. All right, so let's figure out what needs to go in here. So we want a mouse left pressed. So when we press the mouse, what we want to do... Oh, that's what's wrong. Whoops. Let's delete that event. Let's go up here. I want to add a... So this is in my parent object. I want to add a left pressed event. And now down here, I want to go ahead and hit parent, and I want the obj button parent to be the parent. So now I'll inherit these two events. Now this one we want to click inherit event. And then we're going to want room. So I want go to room. And the room I want to go to from here is room level 1. So that should sort us out. So let's go into our menu. And let's drag a copy of our play button onto the screen. Oh, our play button doesn't have a sprite. So let's go back in here and we'll tell that we want it to have the button inactive, button inactive sprite. And then let's go look again at our start menu. Okay. So is this the way I want this layout to look? Hell no. Is it the way the layout looks right now? Hell yes. All right, let's check it and see if this works. So, okay, great. That's not handling well, but the button at least works. Okay, so the text is in the wrong spot. Why isn't the text in the wrong spot? What do you guys think it is? Like, at this point, you guys know stuff. If you've played along with this whole video, or with this whole series of videos, my guess is you know exactly what this is. This is that our sprite, this guy here, is handled by top left, and I want it to be handled by middle center. So the text was drawing at what it thinks the 0, 0 of the button is, which used to be the top left corner. So, okay. All right. So that's that button, the play button. I'm going to duplicate that object, and I'm going to go ahead and rename the duplicated one. And I'm just going to do 3 buttons. So I'm going to do play, help, quit. That's it. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this again. And I'm going to call this one quit. And the quit button's hella easy, so let's do that one. In our left pressed event, we don't want to go to a room. We want to, what's it called? Exit? No. Game. Exit game. There we go. Easy peasy. Quit button is done. Okay, so the text that I have for the font is a bit too big. Fine. Where's my quit button? Where's my help button? I just have that one. Okay, and also that one's default. Like, that's not what I want. I don't want it to be default. I want it to be play. So I clicked variable definitions, and then I overrode this, and I want this to say play. And we'll use a capital P. Okay, and then let's get the quit button showing up. So the reason it's not showing up is that we never actually dragged one onto the screen. So we're just going to go ahead and drag one onto the screen now. And there are 3 boxes between this left edge of the screen and the button. So 3 boxes on this side. And, oops, I clicked the wrong thing. I want to drag a help button out here as well. So something like that. I think those look okay. I'm going to go ahead and leave them that way. Then I want to go into the help button. I want to change its default text to read help. And I want to go into the quit button and change its default text to read quit. I think I just forgot to capitalize help, so let's go deal with that. Yep, I did, in fact, forget to capitalize help. Okay, great. Let's run this and see what we got. So we should have play help quit. If I press quit, the window should close. If I press play, we should go to the next screen. Great. If I hit help, it should tell me about the controls. So that's where we'll want to have a little bit of logic going. So let's open that help button. Oh, I already have the help button open. Great. So, all right. I want to destroy this thing about going to a room because I don't want to do that. I want to here just set a Boolean. So we're going to assign a variable, and the variable is going to be called display text, and we're going to set it to true. And actually we're going to do an if. So we're going to do if display text is not equal to true, then we'll set it to true, and otherwise we want to set it to false. Sorry about the zoom there. And we want to add that into our now we need to actually put this variable definition in here. So I'm going to put this in as a variable definition, and we're going to do display text, and we're going to set that to a Boolean. So either true or false, and I want it to start as false. And then this is where I want to go into my draw event. So I'm going to hit inherit event. So that's going to call the parent event. And then we're going to add a draw value. And the thing I want to draw is going to be at room width divided by 2 and someplace down near the bottom of the room. So we're going to do room height minus, I don't know, 300 or something. And what I want it to display is something like use W A S D to drive the ship. Next line, use space to activate tractor beam. slash new line. So one last new line. And then that's going to be you must abduct at least half the people. Okay, so let's see if that works. Oh, and I want to put that in an if. So if, and the variable we want is draw, nope, it's display text is true. So if display text, then we'll do this, and if not, then we won't. So let's see if that works. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. Oh, whoops, I've got an abductions problem. Okay. So I need my font for my abductions to be in a different spot. So that's in the game object. So that's a level 1 thing, and it's a game object. And all it has in it is a draw. So I want to draw this at room width over 2 and a height of 50. So that's centering it on the screen instead of putting it up in the top left. Okay, I think I'm good with that as a plan. Okay. All right. Now, we want to do something about getting an end game screen. So, let's double check one more thing about our start menu here. Okay, so if I click help, that does indeed come on and off, which is what I wanted. Great. And this video's run a bit long already, so I'm going to call it here, and we'll have one more video about adding an endgame screen to this next time. Thanks for watching. Much appreciated.